Ever since the US approved delivery of some of its F-16 fighter jets to Kyiv back in 2023, momentum has dramatically shifted in Ukraine's favor, with literally hundreds of successful combat missions recorded so far. Slowly but surely, the Ukrainian Air Force is beginning to own the skies, taking out one target after another and leaving their enemy with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. This story shows what a massive difference the right fighter can make to an air force, and the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon, also known as the Viper, is most definitely the right fighter, as far as Ukraine is concerned. This is one of the most successful jets ever created, and the most common fixed-wing aircraft in military service across the globe today, with an estimated 3,100 F-16s operating in 29 different countries worldwide. The F-16 has also made a staggering 13 million sorties and counting, for a total of more than 19.5 million flight hours, and has a long and storied track record of success in countless conflicts and military operations, from Operation Desert Storm in the Gulf War to the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. In addition, despite the fact that it's now more than 50 years since the F-16's flight, it remains one of the most versatile, reliable, and trusted jets ever made. Here's why. The F-16 was designed by General Dynamics in the early 1970s and entered service in 1978, immediately superseding numerous other aircraft that the US Air Force had been operating up to that point, like the F-4 Phantom II and the F-105 Thunder Chief. It proved so successful so quickly because it had been designed differently to any other jet ever made. To be more precise, it was the first fighter to be built on the basis of energy maneuverability, or EM theory. This theory, proposed by Korean War fighter pilot John Boyd, essentially suggested that the best jets needed to have a high thrust-to-weight ratio, low wing loading, and high turn capability. In other words, they needed to be able to maintain speed and agility in the air, turning quickly and tightly on demand to evade enemy weapons, and outmaneuver their opponents during dogfights. The F-16 was also made to be slightly aerodynamically unstable, which was a real deviation from the norm at the time. The majority of aircraft are designed to have positive static stability, which means that the aircraft should return to a straight and level altitude if the pilot lets go of the controls. The F-16 was different. Built with relaxed static stability, it boasted superior agility to any other fighter of the time. The F-16's bubble canopy was another revolutionary feature, a laminated polycarbonate acrylic structure that provided unparalleled, uninterrupted 360-degree visibility, an immense advantage in aerial combat. The rest of the cockpit was also crafted with ergonomics in mind, and the Viper's sidestick armrest-mounted sidestick controller helped to eliminate cockpit clutter while making life easier for pilots when operating at incredibly high speeds. And speaking of speed, the F-16 can reach a peak of Mach 2.05, more than 2 times the speed of sound, which works at around 1,350 miles per hour while flying at altitudes of 40,000 feet. Closer to the ground at sea level, the Viper is still remarkably rapid, hitting top speeds of Mach 1.2 or around 920 miles per hour. This is all down to its Pratt & Whitney F100 engine, delivering impeccable acceleration and a high thrust-to-weight ratio. On top of all of this, the F-16 was made with modular, upgradable architecture, and that's what has kept it relevant over the years. Even as the decades have passed and other fighters have been developed and released, with emerging technologies and exciting new features, the F-16 has been a mainstay of not just the US Air Force fleet, but other aerial forces around the world. It's been upgraded and improved over time, with new radars, cockpit displays, weapons, electronic warfare additions, and so on. And despite originally being envisioned as little more than an agile air-to-air dogfighter, the F-16 has instead become a shining example of a multi-role jet, capable of everything from dogfighting to ground strikes, reconnaissance missions, and more. It's no longer the very best jet in the world, like it was at the time of its release, but it's still a remarkable feat of engineering and an invaluable addition to any air force. It's no surprise then that Ukraine expressed major interest in acquiring F-16s very early on into the war. Indeed, as early as February 2022, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry was posting Top Gun-themed videos on social media and urging America to give the green light for Viper deliveries to Kyiv. At the time, however, the US and other NATO nations were reluctant to send Western aircraft to Ukraine due to fears of escalating the conflict or even drawing the entire NATO alliance into the war. Fortunately for Ukraine, the US eventually changed its stance. In August 2023, then-President Joe Biden authorized the delivery of F-16s from European allies to Ukraine, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirming that the first batch of 24 fighters had been pledged by the Netherlands. Denmark also stepped up to the plate, vowing to send 19 F-16s to Kyiv by 2025. In the meantime, the F-16 training coalition was established, with numerous nations, including the US, United Kingdom, Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, Canada, Norway, Sweden and others, setting up a training center and program for Ukrainian pilots to learn how to operate the F-16. The training program also sought to educate Ukrainian technicians and support personnel, giving the Ukrainian Air Force the knowledge and skills it needed to make the most of its F-16s once they arrived. Usually, it could take several years to train an F-16 pilot. Ukraine didn't have that kind of time to waste. Fortunately, its pilots proved far more capable than its Western allies had anticipated. An initial American assessment of Kyiv's aerial aces revealed a stunning conclusion, with General Sergei Golubtsov, Chief of Aviation of the Ukrainian Air Force, revealing, "They spent 3 weeks there and were trained on an F-16 simulator how to fly together as two pilots using weapons. The results came out very good. Ukrainian pilots can learn to fly and operate weapon systems on the F-16 in less than 6 months." But Ukraine had to wait until August 2024, when the first F-16s finally arrived on their territory, to see the results of that training. They weren't disappointed. From day one of their arrival, F-16s have been deployed on a regular, recurring basis, carrying out not just air defense missions, but close air support sorties for Ukrainian ground forces too. Reports emerged throughout the latter stages of 2024 and into 2025 detailing these successful sorties. Like on December 13, 2024, for example, when Russia launched around 200 drones and 94 missiles at towns and cities across Ukraine. According to the Ukrainian Air Force Command, a single F-16 fighter pilot managed to take out no less than 6 of the Russian cruise missiles. This was a world-first feat, with Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Yuri Ignat writing online, "We have 100% confirmation that, for the first time in history in anti-air combat, an American fighter F-16 shoots down 6 winged missiles, 2 of them by air cannon." This also proved what a game-changing, difference-making force these jets could be. Some months later, in March 2025, the Ukrainian Air Force shared its first ever video interview with one of its F-16 pilots, revealing fascinating insights into the Viper's extraordinary efficiency. Nearly every missile we launch hits its target. More than 80% of our missiles reach their intended destination, neutralizing threats such as Shahed drones and cruise missiles launched from sea, air and land. If we set our sights on a target, we can ensure it's hit with high accuracy. The pilot also shared details about the various ways in which Ukraine was using its F-16s, noting that they carry out multiple sorties every single day, not merely taking out drones and missiles and saving lives across Ukraine, but also conducting deep strike attacks on enemy positions far beyond the front lines. He added that F-16s are also used to provide cover for Ukrainian forces operating other aircraft, like Soviet-era Su-27 and Su-25 fighters. Following that interview, additional reports and sightings emerged of F-16s taking down drones, intercepting missiles and more. It was clear to see that these jets were making a major difference in Ukraine. But now we have the data to prove it. The Air Force Command of Ukraine's armed forces published a lengthy post on its social media channels, detailing the amazing impact these jets have had since the summer of 2024. F-16 fighter jets appeared in Ukrainian skies in August 2024, a historic milestone for our country and a major breakthrough in strengthening the Air Force's aviation capabilities. After mastering the aircraft with remarkable speed, Ukrainian pilots turned the Fighting Falcon into a highly effective tool in countering the aggressor. By applying their own innovative tactics in both air-to-air and air defense operations, Ukrainian crews continue to deliver consistently strong results in repelling enemy attacks. The F-16 alone is credited with intercepting more than 1,300 airborne threats. 1,300 drones and missiles, all taken out by a single kind of fighter jet. That's a remarkable result, however you look at it. It demonstrates the efficacy, accuracy, and reliability of the F-16, further cementing its iconic status as one of the finest fighters the world has ever seen. The Air Force Command also cited just one example of the F-16 in action, noting that on November 19, Russia launched yet another enormous aerial assault on Ukrainian territory, sending a sizable swarm of 476 drones over the border, backed up by 48 missiles. Some of those drones and missiles tragically managed to bypass Ukraine's air defenses, leading to dozens of recorded casualties. But the attack could have been much worse if not for the F-16. The Air Force Command revealed that F-16s, as well as French Mirage 2000 fighter jets, managed to take out 10 of the Russian cruise missiles by themselves. These are missiles that have the power to destroy homes, hospitals, high-rise residential buildings, substations, and other important pieces of infrastructure, with each one possessing the power to kill dozens, if not hundreds, of innocent civilians. Every time Ukraine's forces succeed in taking out a Russian missile, they're preventing tragedies, and the F-16 gives them the power to do that much more regularly and reliably than almost any other asset in their arsenal. And that's not all. The Air Force Command's post went on to explore additional use cases and even more encouraging statistics regarding the F-16's effectiveness. Beyond their air defense missions, F-16s are actively employed for close air support. Ukrainian pilots have struck over 300 ground targets, destroying hundreds of enemy vehicles, command posts, UAV control centers, ammunition depots, and key elements of Russia's logistics. So, not only are F-16s taking out hundreds of drones and missiles on a regular basis to defend Ukraine from Russia's attacks, they're also flying behind enemy lines, accompanying other aircraft, like Soviet jets and bombers, on their strike missions to take out vehicles, drone posts, ammo stocks, and logistical nodes, weakening the Russian war machine one piece at a time. The importance of this cannot be understated. Achieving aerial superiority is often one of the first and most crucial objectives for any force fighting in a modern-day conflict. If you can control the skies, you can control the flow of the fighting, dealing major damage to your enemy, while also delaying and disrupting their advances on the ground. It's almost impossible for enemy forces to successfully carry out their operations when they have the constant threat of bombers and fighters flying overhead at supersonic speeds, blowing up their bases and wiping out their assets before they even have a chance to react. As stated at the start of this video, both sides in this particular war have struggled to attain that all-important air superiority. Russia made some headway in the early stages, relying on its much larger stocks of fighters, bombers, and other aircraft to take control of the skies over certain Ukrainian regions and cities. However, Ukraine soon struck back, building up one of the most advanced, complex, and layered air defense systems ever seen, and forcing the Kremlin's aircraft out of its airspace. Ukraine then went further. It carried out its iconic Operation Spiderweb strike on June 1, 2025, for example, wiping out a large part of Russia's bomber fleet in a surprise drone attack on airfields across the country. It also strengthened its drone army and received not just F-16s, but a range of additional aircraft to modernize and upgrade its air force. Now it's reaping the rewards, with its top-tier pilots and fearsome fighters ruling the skies and raining down fire on Russian targets day after day, night after night. If Ukraine can keep this up, it could prove the key to winning this war. The more dominance one side has in the air, the harder it will be for the other to advance, to take territory, to fortify its positions, or amass any sort of meaningful offensive anywhere along the front lines. Therein lies the challenge. Because even though Ukraine is working wonders with the F-16 for the time being, its air force still faces major challenges and has more hurdles to overcome in order to maintain its momentum. As the Air Force Command Post notes, Every day, F-16 pilots and ground crews operate in extremely demanding, high-risk conditions. And one thing remains on everyone's mind: uninterrupted and timely delivery of air-launched weapons from our Western partners. Because without a sufficient supply of bombs and missiles, even the F-16 cannot secure the victory Ukraine needs. In short, there are two big challenges here. First is the fact that F-16 pilots and crews are almost constantly at risk. In a video published about the Ukrainian Air Force, several crew members shared tales of their real-life experiences, close calls, and the challenging conditions in which they're required to operate. "Our work is tough, no doubt," says one. "Right now, we very often have to operate from dispersed airfields. Most of the time, we work at night." Another reveals how close he and several of his colleagues came to losing their lives. "There were moments when, right after we sent a jet into the air, a Shahed flew right over us. We barely managed to run into a shelter, and the explosion hit just 100 meters away." Still, in the face of unbelievable adversity, these brave crew members continue to do their duty, all understanding the value and significance of the work they do. Without breaks, despite alerts or incoming air attacks, we had to launch and recover aircraft, get them ready for another sortie, because we know this is about saving lives, the lives of our people. One of the crew members also shared his hopes for the future. "My dream is to see white trails in the sky again, civilian aircraft taking off, meaning our skies are peaceful and safe." With the power of the F-16 and numerous other important additions to the Ukrainian arsenal, both provided by Western allies and produced domestically, there's a real chance of making that dream come true. But it won't happen without continued support, because the second big challenge facing the Ukrainian Air Force today is the risk of supplies, like bombs and missiles, running out. F-16 crews are already working at the very limits of their physical capacity, doing their utmost with the resources at their disposal to continue dealing damage to Russian targets and minimizing the impact of the Kremlin's aerial assaults. But, as one crew member notes, the shadow of shortages looms over their operations. "The workload is heavy and intense. There's a shortage of personnel, a shortage of certain consumables, and different types of munitions." Another crew member echoes his colleagues' concerns, urging Ukraine's allies for more support. "I want to thank our international partners for their support, but the war goes on. We need to fight, and we need the tools to fight." In some cases, F-16 pilots can take out enemy drones using only their onboard 20mm 6-barrel Falcon cannons, which are capable of firing up to 6,000 rounds a minute. This was proven in a video that went viral in September 2025, showing an F-16 taking out a Shahed in a powerful precision cannon blast. In many other situations, however, like when they need to intercept Russian Kh-101 cruise missiles or strike at ground targets, pilots can't rely on their cannons alone. They need to launch missiles, bombs or rockets, and those are the kinds of munitions that Ukraine is at risk of running out of. As the Air Force itself notes, "Without sufficient bombs and missiles, the F-16 alone cannot ensure victory." If, however, Ukraine's allies continue to show the same sort of generosity, solidarity, and support that they have for so long, there's every chance that Kyiv will be able to push this enormous advantage even further, sending its F-16s on more and more sorties, wiping out an increasing number of Russian assets, and leaving the Kremlin with bigger bills and harsher headaches with every single strike. Now, you can learn more about the quest for air superiority in the Russia-Ukraine war in this video, which details how Russia could and perhaps should have ruled the skies quite early on, but failed to do so due to a series of misjudgments and mistakes. Or check out this video to see how Ukraine's long-range precision strikes on Russian radars and missile systems have made the Kremlin's air defenses a shadow of what they once were, paving the way for even more successful F-16 attacks and drone strikes in the coming months. And to ensure you don't miss out on more breaking news, in-depth analysis, and deep dives into the latest tactics, strategies, and military hardware on display in the Russia-Ukraine war, make sure to subscribe to our channel and enable notifications today.